Hello, welcome back to How It's Done. Today I'm with Zach Berger from Berger Insurance, and he's going to be giving us the behind the scenes about how he does insurance and about shelter insurance, which is new to the state of Ohio. Thank you for coming and doing this with me. Can you give us a little background about yourself?
Sure. My name is Zach Berger. Will be 34 this year, born and raised in Wadsworth, other than, if work sent me somewhere for a little bit. But Berger family, been in Wadsworth since about the 70s. My grandparents moved here. I got a beautiful wife, Lindsay. We got a daughter on the way due in August. I have 2 sisters. I got 2 cats and 2 Bernese mountain dogs.
So you are a Wadsworth graduate?
I am, 2007.
Awesome. And how did you come about opening up your own business?
So I've been out of college for about 10 years now, done various sales roles for different companies. And long story short, I was tired of answering to the man. I wanted to be the man. So that kind of inspired me on looking into creating my own small business, and through some research and how I feel I act and how I want to be perceived and all that kind of stuff, it led me down the road of insurance.
Now, what made you go with shelter insurance compared to some of the other bigger names that people know around here?
Sure, I actually was going to take a position with one of the bigger name companies. That's when Shelter reached out to me. Did some research on Shelter. I really liked what I read about the company. I liked the conversations I had with them. I kind of like the idea that they were new and trying to build something here in Ohio, and I felt like it was a great partnership.
Now, how long has shelter insurance been around?
This is Shelter Insurance 76th year in business. Their headquarters is in Missouri. They're in about 16 states. Ohio's been, I think this is their 5th year, 6th year in Ohio. They started in Cincinnati and they worked their way up north here. There's about 10 of us agents here in Northeast Ohio now. And we're growing, but they kind of are like that big company feel, with income, security, that kind of stuff, which is important in the insurance world, with that small company touch.
So they're established, they've been around for a while.
Correct.
They're very secure, so it's just that they have been new to here, so people don't have to worry that it's just a pop-up insurance.
Correct. Again, been around for coming up on 80 years here in a couple years, just newer to Ohio.
Okay, and how long have you been doing insurance?
I opened up about the beginning of January last year.
Okay.
I think January 11th was technically my first day in business, so coming up on 1.5 years.
Awesome. So what brought you to your location, which is on College Street in Wadsworth, to be down here, and how has it helped you being in the center of town?
So to answer that as briefly as possible, because I could go on for a long time on this, I love Wadsworth, born and raised here, wanted to make sure that I raise my own family here, and being part of the community is important. Being part of a downtown that does a lot for the community, between Main Street, the Chamber, all the businesses around here, I wanted to be a part of that.
And you are part of the Chamber?
I'm on the board of the Chamber of Commerce.
Awesome. And I saw that you just did something with the high school. What was that?
It's called the Shelter Insurance Foundation Scholarship, where myself and Shelter, we get together and we do a scholarship for a graduating senior.
Oh.
So this year, the winner, her name was 𝗚𝗚𝗀𝗻𝗄𝗎.
Okay.
It was for $1,500, and one of my requirements to the high school when they give me candidates is I wanted people that weren't either going to get a lot of scholarship money or needed some kind of financial need. And unfortunately, Emily went through some stuff, but I'm glad I was able to help her.
And you are also a sponsor for the annual Wounded Warrior Project fundraiser, and I know that you like participating to help veterans.
I do. I'm not a veteran myself, but I certainly respect everything that veterans do for this country. And if my little bit of financial support can help, I'm glad to do it.
Thank you for that. We're going to go into a little bit about the insurance to try to educate some people. Now, I know that there's different life insurance policies out there. What is the difference between the term and the permanent?
Sure. So term insurance, normally it's 10, 20, or 30-year terms are what you can get. So that means if today you started a 10-year term policy, 10 years from now, on this date, that policy would end, right? So that money that you put into the policy, cheaper than a permanent policy, you don't get any refund or anything after that 10 years. It's just that security in case something were to happen during that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever you choose it to be.
Okay, and then you also have, it's called a junior life insurance policy, and that's for children.
Correct. So the junior special is what it's called. It's
Okay.
unique to shelter insurance. It is anywhere from a child from the day they're born till age 17, they can sign up for it, or their parents can sign them up for it. It's a one-time payment. There's 4 different amounts they can get, anywhere between $240, $550. Again, one-time payment. It's good until they're 26. At the age of 25, they have the option to start their own permanent policy up to 5 times the amount they originally took with the guaranteed insurability clause.
Oh.
So that's what makes it special, right?
Okay.
It's very inexpensive and it guarantees insurance later on in life. You know, bad things happen to good people. It's the way of the world. Something as inexpensive as this gives your child a chance for insurance should something happen to them later on in life.
Now, we briefly talked about this policy compared to another well-known policy. What is the difference that you said in cost-wise between those two?
Sure. One of the more well-known policies, if you were to start it on the day of birth, you'd end up paying about $8,000.
Okay.
When your kid's 26, where the junior special is, if you got the highest junior special you could, highest amount of insurance, it costs you $555. That's it.
Okay, and then with your term and permanent life insurance, what is the cutoff age for that? Is there a cutoff age?
Yeah, so most companies, shelter included, for permanent insurance, age 70's the latest. Term, you could be 60 and you still might be able to get a 20-year term policy, but once you start creeping more towards 70, the amount of term options you get reduced greatly.
Okay, and then you also talked about you do renter's insurance, which in today's world we've been noticing a lot of things going on with apartment buildings, complexes, condos, things like that, where there's been damage and people lose their stuff. How important is it for somebody to get renter's insurance, and how easy is it for them to get it through you?
Starting with why it's important to get renter's insurance. Whether your apartment complex, your landlord, if you're in a single family home, a duplex, anything like that, whether they required it or not, renter's insurance is very inexpensive. In shelter's case, it's $100 a year.
That is a very good price.
It does. It is a good price. What that includes for a tenant is, or renter, is $100,000 in liability for the landlord or the apartment complex. But it also includes personal property coverage for the tenant, as well as loss of rents for the landlord, and moving away costs, basically, if you had to living expenses, if you had to go live in a hotel for a month while the apartment got fixed.
Okay.
That's all included for $8.33 a month.
So besides just saying a natural disaster happened to the building, that would cover somebody, say somebody broke in?
Yep, so there is some theft coverage, depending on after police do, as long as it's been proven, there's a police report and things like that, there is coverage for that. One of the big things that happens with renter's insurance that people don't realize is, let's say you and a roommate are moving in, only you got the renter's insurance, but your roommate is the one that caused, let's just say, the fire in the kitchen. That's a very gray area in the insurance world. Okay. So make sure you also list your roommate on your policy. You guys both don't each need to get a policy. Just everyone that's living there needs to be listed.
Okay, that's good advice. And you do, besides just the renter's insurance for the renter, you can also have the insurance for the landlord who owns the property, correct?
Correct. It's called a dwelling fire policy.
Okay.
And so whether it's an apartment complex or your very first investment property, the landlord needs insurance, and so does the tenant.
Okay. And you do homeowners insurance. What is the types of insurance that you've seen change as the economy has changed? You know, prices and materials, all that stuff.
That I would recommend everyone get a copy of their declaration page and just make sure that their coverage is taking into account material pricing today. So 5 years ago, if your house was worth $200,000, it may cost $300,000 today to rebuild it. So if you only have $200,000 in coverage and you don't have a guarantee replacement clause or the correct amount of dwelling coverage, you're only getting $200,000.
So even if their house was built 20 years ago, they still need to look at their policy because of the material costs if it was to replace it.
Correct, yes. So just make sure that your dwelling coverage covers what it would cost to build your home today. You can call your current insurance company and ask them what the current dwelling coverage is if you're unsure, and they'll be able to tell you that. But just everything in the world is going up, right? So if you see, when you get your next bill from the insurance company for your home and you see that your home insurance went up $100, it's probably because your dwelling coverage went up.
Okay. And we also talked about in regards to how the housing market prices have gone up, and somebody getting, say, a house that was $50,000 over what it is technically appraised at. Can they get that in the insurance policy, or is it something that they may not be able to cover, that extra gap there?
Most of the time, the coverage you get in insurance is more than what you paid for it. This market, things are crazy. I have seen on occasion where the insurance isn't quite up to what they paid for the house, and that's up to you as the homeowner if you're comfortable with that gap.
Okay, and then when a homeowner adds on, so say like a pool or things like that, do they need to update their policy for that?
Absolutely. It's anytime you do a home update, you want to make sure that you have the adjusted dwelling coverage cost. If you add a pool, you want to make sure you have proper liabilities in case something were to happen, things like that.
And does shelter insurance do discounts when it comes to homeowners insurance, like veterans or anything like that?
Shelter they have their standard bundle, home, auto, life, those kind of discounts. They have what's called an advance pay discount, which is when you decide you want to make the switch to shelter insurance, if you pay a week before the policy actually starts, there's a discount.
Oh.
Shelter also has a unique discount where if you bundle your home and auto and you're over the age of 48 and empty nester, there's also a discount for that.
Oh, that's a really good thing to know. I don't think that I've seen, I know that there's bundles, but when it comes to the empty nester part, I haven't really heard much about that around. So that's something.
Shelter does. You know, I represent about 2 or 3 other companies, but Shelter is my main company, and they're the only ones I know that do something like that.
Okay, and then you do auto insurance.
I do.
I noticed that there is ATV insurance, boat insurance, RV insurance. You wouldn't think that all those different things need their own separate type of insurance.
They do. You know, you need insurance for your cars and your toys, as they're often called. And a lot of times too, let's say you have 2 4-wheelers and you want them insured, but you have an accident on your driving record, that is reflected in the price on your toys as well.
It is, okay. Now, with the ATVs, I've noticed a lot more accidents and things with those with people. That also covers if somebody gets injured on one of them?
Right, so all insurance policies come with some amount of liability, whether you have state minimum or all the way up to $500,000 plus.
Okay.
All policies come with some sort of liability coverage.
And you also do personal insurance for items that somebody has, so say like jewelry and things like that. Have you seen, I would say, like an increase in people needing to go ahead and get personal insurance, or can they just cover that under their homeowner's insurance?
So homeowner policies, again, this varies from company to company. Most companies have a $2,500 limit. You can get it up to about $7,500.
Okay.
Just kind of a generic limit. It is an additional option you pick. It's not necessarily a standard coverage. But that's where a policy like an inland marine comes in. That's the personal property you're talking about. It's called an inland marine policy. Covers anything, guns, jewelry, watches. I have my golf clubs on mine.
Really?
Yeah. Things like that. Things that you want to make sure that if something were to happen, you get the money back to replace them.
Okay. Now, going forward, owning your own business, how has it been for you as a small business owner compared to a lot of the bigger insurance companies? What things have you learned to keep yourself going?
Well, to me, it's important to be a part of the community. I try to do as much for the community as I can with the time I have. I do a scholarship. I'm on the chamber board. I work with Wadsworth Young Professionals. I volunteered basketball coaching and soccer coaching this past year. I do things like that. I think that's important to me, and hopefully that reflects in the kind of character I am and how I want my business to be perceived as well. But being a small business, especially with a company that's new to Ohio, it has its struggles, right? You know, not many people know who 𝗟₨ is. They've been around for almost 80 years, but because they're new to Ohio, you know, I'm sure that is kind of wary in some people's minds. But so just kind of getting my business going, you know, it's a grind, right? As it should be, but I'm glad to be doing it in Wadsworth.
Were you affected at all wanting to open up your business of the pandemic happening?
I could have countless people that have told me, why did you choose to open your business in the middle of the pandemic? Because I opened it in January of 21. Just when it was time, it was time. I don't know anything other than the pandemic in terms of my business. So I really can't compare it to anything. Yeah, so.
Well, that's good though. I've seen that the businesses that persevere through the pandemic, they've come up with different ways to be unique and special to keep their businesses going. I've seen a lot of businesses pair together to do things together. I've seen, you know, a lot of the businesses, like you said, getting out more in the community. Have you seen a difference since the pandemic with small businesses?
It seems like there's definitely more community outreach from the small businesses. That's really all I really don't know. I can't compare how they were before the pandemic and not being a small business now and being involved with other small businesses. It does seem like they are more involved in the community, and hopefully they've enjoyed that.
How has it been for you since you've been part of the Chamber of Commerce, and how has that helped you?
Being part of the Chamber of Commerce is a great way for fellow business people to network. You never know who you may bump into and how you could help each other out, learn something new, learn maybe a business that can help your business grow and you didn't even know that they were around. Things like that. The Chamber also has great health insurance programs for small businesses. Okay. If you're a small business and you're not a member of the Chamber, it's a couple $100s a year, and it's a great way to access health insurance as a small business.
What do you hope for the future for your business?
Obviously, I hope it's still here 10 years from now and 20, 30 years from now. I'd like to leave a legacy of positivity in Wadsworth and the neighboring communities. Insurance is important. There's a lot of things that you just don't get questions answered if you don't have an agent. Mm-hmm. So, in the world of technology and being able to buy things online, it's great, right? Until you have a question. So I believe that I have a servant's heart and I want to be here for the people, and being an agent is one way that I can do that.
I can speak from experience that every state, every area has its own laws and rules when it comes to insurance. And when you get on the internet and you start doing all these searches, it can be misleading. You may not think that like he just said, you have to update your insurance policy for your home because material costs. I would have never have thought about that. And that's something that, you know, just a fluke storm comes through and rips off the side of your house and those materials are more, that's something extremely important. Also, I learned when we had the storm about 2 years ago is that it's very important to have somebody that you can communicate with and not just a 1-800 number over the phone. You want somebody that you can be comfortable with. That's why I think that you having your business established here is really good for the community, and they can come down, they can talk to you, you're personable, you're out in the community. That's something that you don't get from a big box office. That's something that you get from a small local business. And being with a small local business, not only are you helping you stay open, but you are able to provide to the community. That's a big thing for the small local businesses. If they didn't exist, a lot of the things that you would see out in the community would not happen. They would not exist. All the stuff that happens downtown, the volunteer work that you do through chamber, the mental work that you do for these kids to also be able to go ahead and do the scholarship program, it all comes from the small local businesses. Is there anything that you would like to tell somebody that is in the younger generation that would eventually like to open up their business, a bit of advice for them?
It's a grind. It's 24/7. Using myself as the example, I have my office phone in the evenings forward to my cell phone, and on Monday night I took a call at 11:56 at night. It's just be prepared to always be available. That's probably the number one thing, especially in the insurance industry, being an agent. You're always going to have to be available. You're going to work weird hours. You may be slow at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, but 8 o'clock at night that night, you're out and you're busting, you're hustling, you're doing whatever you need to do. So just be prepared that hours won't be consistent. You'll always be on call, but at least in my line of work, when you sign a new client, they're in good hands.
And it has to be a good feeling that, like you said, you're working for yourself. You're the one who's running the company, even though it's long hours for you at times. You're doing it all on your own as a small business owner. What do you hope that people would want to learn, say, about shelter insurance that we haven't discussed?
So shelter insurance actually, last year and the year before, were J.D. Power #1 for customer satisfaction in claims and price. So that just kind of shows you the kind of company they are. They're competitive, and they follow through on what their policies state.
Now, just to be on the safe side, could you explain what the J.D. Power and Associates is for somebody who doesn't know?
So J.D. Power is kind of like Consumer Reports, one of the big review companies that people can go online or get their magazine and learn about ratings on how they perceive businesses to be. So it was a great honor to be mentioned in that.
That's really good. Now, I see you got some stuff on your desk. What is that all about?
Those are just my insurance awards.
Insurance awards.
with Shelter, I was fortunate enough in 2021 to be Agent of the Year for Northeast Ohio.
That's a big accomplishment.
And I'm on pace to hopefully repeat, but without the help of this community, I don't know if I'd be there. So.
Well, the community thanks you for being part of it. Participating in it is really huge. I've seen a growth since COVID. While there was a lot of bad that happened, I think a lot of good. Business owners are getting more involved in the community, and the community loves that. Especially, I know that I've seen you have a Facebook page for Berger Insurance, and then you also have a link on that leads to your website, correct?
Correct.
Now, how does somebody go about contacting you if they want a quote or they want to get some other type of insurance?
Sure. The best way is either phone or email. My phone number is 330-331-7477. My cell phone that you could text me on is 330-606-7928, as well as my email is 𝗍𝗫𝗎𝗫 at 𝗪𝗪insurance.com.
Thank you for going ahead and doing this and educating the public in regards to insurance. I encourage everybody, like he said, look at your policies. You got questions, talk to your agent, come ahead and talk to him. Shelter Insurance obviously has stuff that is very unique to them, and that is great that he brought that to this community. What is your area of coverage so people know?
Anywhere in the state of Ohio, I can do mostly personal lines insurance, which is home, auto, life, inland marine. I can do some general liability policies for some contractors, things like that. Shelter is expanding their breadth of products in Ohio every year, so looking forward to that. And I guess one last thing I could leave you guys with is, this is just kind of a little funny joke, but 99% of all term life insurance policies don't get paid out, where 100% of all whole life policies do.
Wow, that's a really good fact.
Fun fact for you.
That is. Well, thank you for watching our show. Until next time.
Thanks a lot, Don.
Thanks.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.